In the world of Gachiakuta, there exists the power source of the thought. When thinking about and cherishing specific items that appear to have no soul, these thoughts will accumulate and manifest into energy that lies dormant within these objects. Those with the power to draw out the energy within these objects in order to make their will manifest are very rare and special individuals within this world. They're referred to as givers. These very special individuals have the ability to utilize the thought energy within their vital instruments in order to fight and defeat the trash beasts that run amok in the world below. And usually, these givers can only utilize one specific vital instrument, an object that is very special to them. The primary hero group of this series are a group of givers that are referred to as the Cleaners, a public organization that consists of 100 different people who tend to handle all sorts of issues relating to trash beasts in the world of Gachiakuta, and this is the group we'll be covering in today's video. Although I said there are about 100 cleaners, we're only covering 19 as these are the most important cleaners in the series, and we really see them mentioned or just see them in the story more than any other character. I'll be ranking the 19 in strength while giving an explanation on each of their characters and abilities. With that said, this intro has dragged on enough, so I'll cut it short and get straight into the video. At the very beginning of the list we have Grease Rubian. Grease is a very special case on this list as he is not a giver, but he is still a part of the cleaners as a supporter. These are usually pretty powerful combatants who cannot use vital instruments to combat trash beasts or other givers. But they have the skill and strength to still help out the givers through just being built different. Grease is also one of those very kind and confident characters that you cannot help but love. Similar to Bulat from Akame ga Kill, he even plays a mentor role to Ruto the protagonist, although he also sees him as an equal. Grease again doesn't have any vital instruments or powers, but he does have extremely high levels of strength. He was able to crush the head of a trash beast with his grip strength alone, but that is just about as far as his strength and abilities go. Despite that, for someone who isn't a giver, he's still very powerful. After the cool and collected Grease, we have the loud and very passionate Delmon Gates. Delmon Gates is a massive middle-aged bald man with an interesting outfit to accommodate his body frame. Delmon, being very passionate, does not play about his comrades, and he will cut loose if any of them are harmed in his presence. He was once a farmer who had a dream to see a flower bloom. To do this, he worked tirelessly, which would eventually result in him creating his vital instrument, the Great Dumbbell. We meet Delmon pretty early into the series and get an arc focused on him very early that involves him being somewhat possessed by the enemy, giving us the opportunity to see what he's capable of. First, Delmon's vital instrument is the Great Dumbbell, with the primary ability of Thirst Quencher. This generates a water hose, allowing Delmon to control the water contents of whoever he attacks with it, making those attacked by it absorb water like a sponge and begin to soak up, slowly swelling. If the opponent takes in too much water, they will explode like a balloon. This water hose actually has different nozzles or settings, kind of like real water hoses in real life, and we only know of 2 others currently. First is the silent nozzle, this allowing Delmon to enter a stealth mode and knock out anybody with 1 spray of water, but they have to be completely unaware of his presence. And there's also the high pressure nozzle, this giving Delmon the ability to launch, as you can guess, very powerful and fast sprays of water that can damage his opponents and destroy almost anything in his path. Delmon is clearly powerful, but he's just surrounded by monsters. Dear Santa is one of the more unique characters in the series, as he's a 10-year-old who constantly wears a pacifier and refuses to speak, communicating through nothing but facial expressions and grunts. Dear Santa is also a character who gets irritated very easily, so despite the fact that he doesn't speak, he's communicating quite often through his unique means. We meet Dear Santa pretty early into the series, but we don't actually see him take action until the Trash Storm arc, where he stands still for almost the entire fight doing nothing but flexing. Something I also like about Dare is that he'll actually show that he's stressing against an opponent, unlike most characters of his nature who remain poker faced for the sake of aura. It actually makes him stand out. Dare Santa's vital instrument actually comes in the form of his pacifier and is referred to as the Centralian. The Centralian bestows Dare with a very powerful and flexible ability, which is when he attacks his opponents, he will drain their strength and absorb it, allowing him to become stronger. It's simple yet extremely effective, and it can even be used on inanimate objects as we see in chapter 68. Dear Santa may honestly be higher than this given the nature of his ability, but we just haven't seen too much from him. Bro Santa comes right after Dear Santa, as he actually is his adoptive father. Bro is actually one of the team leaders of the Cleaners, as he leads Team Child that consists of Dare, Guida, and possibly more members we'll meet as the story goes on, Due to basically babysitting kids all day, he's spending half of his time on screen apologizing for their actions. Bro is another tall, muscular guy, and as you'll see, this will be the trend for all middle-aged characters in the story, but he rocks a pretty dope bandana as well that has a cross-eyed pattern all over it. Bro's vital instrument is a piece of cloth that's very stretchy and can be used in all sorts of ways. Bro can use the cloth to attack people, attach it to them, restrain them, or even use it to maneuver himself around the battlefield. We haven't really seen Bro fight much except for the Trash Beast arc, but even then, he hasn't done much. Obviously, he can be higher as he is a team captain and all, but I placed him down here just to be safe. Most characters beneath the top 6 are going to be relative to one another anyway. Amo M. Pool is the first female to make the list and was originally the villain of one of the earlier arcs of the story, but she would eventually be converted into one of the cleaners after being defeated by them in Rudo. Amo is a very sweet girl, but she has also been through tons of abuse through an unnamed caretaker only referred to as Mr. before the events of the series. This would result in Amo being someone who has a decent amount of mental issues and coping mechanisms to deal with said mental issues. Amo is at first a character who's dangerously obsessed with love due to her horrible past, but as she joins the cleaners and becomes friends with them, her behavior does improve. She also loves people who loves her and hates Engine more than anybody else. Amo is also one of the few characters who possesses the Watchman series, a series of vital instruments that are older than most others and contain an unlimited supply of thought energy. It's said by the leader of the Raiders, Zodal, that these vital instruments originally all belonged to one person and were worn by this singular person. These are likely the most powerful vital instruments in the series, and only those who have suffered great tragedy can actually utilize them. Amo possesses the boots, which will produce sense of a person that the target was close to, sending them into an illusion by making them mistake Amo as someone who is the target of her opponent's affection. It basically works like Infatuate from Pokemon, and she can control her targets to make them attack others or just never attack her. Guida Hebi Fantasia is another member of Team Child, and the last one we know of besides the Santa duo. Guida is a pretty loud and short girl with an interesting design while being completely lacking in social cues and speaking in slang. Guida seems to be the depiction of the average current day teenager in Gachiakuta. We don't know of her past, but her vital instrument is her Kaiju 1C, referred to as Guida. This allows her to change her side and turn into a massive kaiju to do battle. It's also hinted a few times that Guida is able to control the size of her monster form, although we haven't seen her do it just yet. Here comes a fan favorite character, Rio Reaper. She's also referred to as the Ripper and is another member of Engine's Akuta squad. Rio is one of the first cleaners we actually meet in the story and was once a hitman before taking up the job of cleaner, swearing to hitman life before her. After assuming her position as a cleaner, she becomes a pretty kind one and serves as a mentor to Rudo. Rio is also one of those characters who seek to find opponents more powerful than her and is willing to use any method possible to overcome said characters. I also think it's important to mention that despite how kind she is, she does have a darker hitman side to herself that still lingers from her past, and she will lean into this when the situation calls. Overall, judging from her weapon and design, you could tell that she was easily going to be a fan favorite. Rio is also a very powerful combatant and one of the more powerful cleaners on the list. First, she has tons of battle experience from her previous occupation and has displayed high levels of hand-to-hand combat. On top of this, she possesses a vital instrument referred to as the Ripper. The Ripper is a pair of scissors that enlarge themselves to become as long as her legs. She then fights by swinging them around after attaching her feet to the handles, and as she kicks, they cut. Rio also carries a pistol that she can use to shoot her opponents in desperate situations, although she still somehow manages to use it non-lethally. After Rio, we have another fan favorite, Zanka Nijiku. Zanka, like Rio, is another member of Team Akuta, which is the main team led by Engine in the series. Zanka, compared to most characters, has an interesting backstory, as he was once at the top of his class to become a Hellguard, but another trainee named Hio would join and easily surpass Zanka's abilities, making him come to the conclusion that there was never any chance that a normal person like him could ever surpass a genius. But upon meeting Engine and fighting against powerful opponents, this belief would change and Zanka would turn his goal toward becoming a man strong enough to surpass all geniuses as an average person. Zanka is also part of a very prestigious family referred to as the Nijiku, and you can even see this in his clothing and how it's more clean and nice than all the other characters' fits. I also think it's important to mention that Zanka is someone we see more than the majority of the cast in the series. He's just around a lot and kind of has his own character arc going on alongside Rudo. Zanka is very powerful and is said to be the best handler of vital instruments amongst all the members of the Cleaners. Since Zanka was also a Helguard trainee, he has a lot of experience in hand-to-hand combat and weaponry. Zanka's vital instrument is called the Lovely Assist Staff. It's a regular stick that will sharpen itself when activated and increase its own and its user's overall strength. Zanka is also able to play Earthbender with the staff by sticking it into the ground and utilizing the vibrations of the ground in order to sense people or objects around him. Lastly, Zanka can manipulate the staff to shoot out spikes on the edge, so he can also stab opponents if need be. Although it's a stick, it's very clearly a versatile one. Fu Orastor comes after Zanka as one of the more powerful Cleaners, although he was originally first a Raider, which is the rival organization of the Cleaners. Fu first and foremost has a strange dependence on people giving him orders, and this is because he's very scared of self-accountability. So he wants someone to give him orders so whenever things go wrong, he can blame the person who gave him the orders. Funny guy, but that's what makes him interesting. Eventually he's kicked out of the Raiders because he was pretty useless to them, and useless to a point where he was working with the Cleaners while on a mission to oppose them. Fu Orastor finds himself all the way up here because of his cursed doll, Hai. Hai is a doll that made a pact with Fu in order to take over his body and fight for him if the situation arises. Fu is extremely powerful, as he was able to even defeat Jabber without much issue. This is the same Jabber who had recently defeated Zanka in a pretty hard fought battle. Fu or Hai could be placed higher, but that has yet to be seen, and it took a very long time for him to even reveal his power. Semu Greer is the receptionist of the Cleaners and is best described as a confident and professional lady, one who prefers to focus on the most efficient way to deal with her problems. We don't really see Semu fight too often or anything like that, but when we do, she's always very impressionable. Semu's vital instrument is a set of glasses, one that enhances her kinetic acuity and can go up a further stage to seeing a person's true soul and character to detect whether they're lying or pretending to be someone that they're not. These glasses can also be used in combat situations as they give her brief glimpses into the future. Basically, she can see into the future and take it as far as she needs to, but she does place herself at the risk of losing her eyesight the further she peers into the future and the more she uses it, so she does have to use it in short bursts. Overall, Semu is a character who's only limited by herself from what we've seen, and a very powerful combatant. Rudo Surbrek is the main protagonist of the story and is a part of Team Akuta under Engine alongside Zaka and Ryo. Rudo was one who was originally from the Spear, but was thrown into the underworld after being framed by another Cleaner on the list for the murder of his adopted father. After being thrown into the underworld, he'd come across Engine and discovered the power behind his gloves, the 3R, and joined the Cleaner soon after. Rudo was originally a pretty closed off and standoffish person, but due to the previously mentioned setup and tons of abuse from even before that growing up, he would be left with something akin to a curse. One that's full of hatred and that seems to constantly grow within him. He's also pretty bad with social cues and relating to others due to his past, but he tries his best as each challenge comes his way. Rudo is also a pretty virtuous person when this curse isn't in the way and possessing him. It's implied that this curse will probably take him down a horrible route in the future, but he seems to do a good job at fending it off. Rudo has the vital instrument of the 3R, a set of gloves that comes from the aforementioned all-powerful Watchmen series. Whenever Rudo makes contact with an item that's been discarded by those of the world, he can change it into a vital instrument to take the last of its energy. Rudo with this instrument has the ability to do this to 3 wasted items at once, but he can focus all that power into one to make it work at 3 times its power, or just spread it across 3 items. Each item will crumble away after serving its purpose. As you can see, these gloves have given Rudo the ability to really handle any situation and always have an interesting and difficult fight while doing so. He's pretty much the reason why people praise the power system of Gachiakuta so much. Massive spoilers ahead with this guy. Skip to here if you only want to see his powers and not see any of his description or spoilers or whatever, but Tamsi Kanes is one of the major antagonists of all Gachiakuta. He's also the only character who can move between the underground and the spear, hence is why he's referred to as the Angel. Tamsi is also the one who killed Rudo's adoptive father and placed the blame on Rudo himself in order to steal his father's vital instrument, which was one of the Watchmen series. Tamsi is a very sadistic character and seems to focus on doing nothing but making Rudo suffer from the shadows at this point. As the story continues, he schemes in the background, unable to be seen. This is thanks to his Watchmen book and vital instrument, the book. This book has the ability to alter the memories of any of his targets, giving him an all-powerful ability to control those around him. Tamsi also possesses another vital instrument, the tokushin. This is a staff that allows Tamsi to create nets of threads to trap his opponents, and the more they fight, the more difficult it is for them to escape. Sort of a metaphor for the control that he has over the series. Tamsi can also create monsters out of his nets, or have them rolled into a spool, and have that spool unraveled at high speeds to launch his opponents into the ground with tons of force. Tamsi is very easily one of the most powerful characters in the series, and remains a threat to be taken down. At 2, we have Engine, the leader of Team Akuta and the deuteragonist of the series. He's a bright, yet chill, reliable, and powerful guy that everybody can always lean on to, referring to himself as just your average janitor. His name Engine was given him by someone he believes he owes a lot in life to, and the significance behind this name is referred to as the Faded One. Engine, acknowledging this, tends to wield an umbrella, this item that stands out from the ground but can always serve as a beacon to those who are alone. Engine is a pretty great guy overall in the series, and always has no problem with taking people under his wing, but he can also be very goofy. Engine possesses an umbrella referred to as the Unbreaker. This is a very versatile weapon that can be used as a shield, to float in the air, or even spun at very high speeds to be shot as a drill. It really just seems that this guy can do just about anything when wielding this umbrella. Engine has also been shown destroying trash beasts in the blink of an eye, so he's incredibly fast, and seems to just always be in control of any battle that he's in. He also just boasts the most feats in the series. He's certainly that guy. Now, before we get into the number 1 pick, we have to do our honorable mentions, as these are just not combatants or characters we don't know too much about. First, we have Aisha Stiltza. This is another member of Team Akuta, but she plays the role of medic, healing all teammates after battle. She's insanely shy to a point where she doesn't prefer to talk at all, but she also doesn't hesitate to display tons of kindness when possible. Her vital instrument is referred to as Type Heal, this being a power cord that uses electricity to give Aisha the ability to administer medical treatment. Healing overall is said to be an ability exclusive to Aisha only, as she is one with a pure heart. She obviously has great healing capacity, as she is the medic of the cleaners. Shikage is another member of Team Akuta, and we know far less about him than Aisha, but he is referred to as the invincible shut-in and the man responsible for protecting all of Cleaner's HQ, so he's certainly important and powerful. And at 1, the clear pick for the strongest cleaner in the series is its leader, Arca Corvus. This is a 6'5" monster of a man who is nothing but powerful, honest, charismatic, and a leader that all can rely on. Arca is extremely powerful and is spoken of as if he were a legend whenever not present, and his word will always go when he is present. It's very clear that he's just a cut above the rest. Corvus also has the ability to see those and understand their true potential at first glance, but that's just about all we know when it comes to his actual powers. Despite that, the story, the Cleaners HQ, everybody makes it obvious that Arca is extremely powerful and not someone to be messed with. With that said, that should cover all of the Cleaners. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you enjoy content such as this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.